And somebody told me to go on the air and point out how he got busted hiding food under his bed. This is the kind of stuff that was happening.
Even though you're a superstar caliber talent, you're not a superstar because you're almost never available.
Because you are almost never available. 6 words that should have ended the conversation about Zion Williamson right there. They didn't. People laughed it off, called it another Stephen A. rant, another hot take built to get clipped and dunked on. Pelicans Twitter did what Pelicans Twitter always does, and Zion kept playing when he could play and kept disappearing when he couldn't. New Orleans just finished a season at the bottom of the Western Conference. Zion spent the final stretch out of the lineup again, this time for injury management on a team that had nothing left to manage for. And the sentence Stephen A. said 2 years ago doesn't sound like a hot take anymore. It sounds like a diagnosis. May 2019, the Pelicans win the lottery. Zion Williamson, the most explosive prospect since LeBron James, is going to New Orleans. This was supposed to be the easy part of the story, a generational talent, a franchise reborn, a no-brainer #1 pick. It wasn't easy for even one single day. Before Zion ever played a real NBA minute, the pattern of injury and intense body scrutiny had already set in. A torn meniscus in the October preseason robbed him of opening night, sidelining him for months before his career could even start. When his official NBA debut finally happened in January 2020, it instantly turned into a national argument about whether commentary on his weight had crossed into something uglier. ESPN itself got accused of piling on. That's how early this started. The criticism arrived before the resume did. From there, the injuries just kept stacking up. He played only a fraction of the games available to him his rookie year. And almost immediately, a pattern set in that would define the next 7 years of his career. Brilliant when healthy, gone for stretches nobody could predict. Then came the true nightmare year. His 3rd season in 2021-22. A foot injury wiped out the entire campaign. Not just a few games missed, the whole year. A #1 pick who hadn't played a single minute in a season where his own team was building its future around him. By the end of that 3rd season, Zion had appeared in barely a third of his team's total games since being drafted. That's the environment Stephen A. Smith was reacting to. Not a hunch, not a bit. A documented, repeating pattern that started in year 1 and never really stopped. By the time Zion signed his rookie extension in 2022, the concern about his conditioning was serious enough that it got written into the contract itself. The deal reportedly included a clause tying part of his money to a combined weight and body fat threshold. That's not media noise. That's the front office building a safeguard against the exact thing analysts were worried about. Stephen A. didn't let it go quiet. In December 2023, coming off a Lakers matchup where Zion visibly struggled to move, Smith unloaded on First Take.
I saw the brother go to the free throw line. He looked like he had a belly.
He kept going, relaying what he said were reports from around New Orleans about Zion's eating habits, closing with a line that became the defining soundbite of the whole saga.
The word out on Zion Williamson is that he'll eat the table. I'm quoting. He'll eat the table.
It was harsh. Some called it cruel. The Pelicans' own social media account mocked Smith right back, digging up old clips of his playing days. But underneath the theatrics was a number Smith kept repeating, one that was much harder to argue with than any joke about chefs or burgers. At that point in his career, Zion had missed roughly 2 out of every 3 games the Pelicans had played since drafting him. 2 out of 3, not a slump, not bad luck, a trend line. And it wasn't just Stephen A. saying all of these. Shaquille O'Neal and Charles Barkley weighed in on the same broadcast, both saying they understood the struggle from their own careers. Bill Simmons openly wondered whether Zion had lost the second jump that made him special in the first place. This wasn't one commentator with a grudge. It was a growing consensus that something structural, not just unlucky, was standing between Zion and stardom. Zion's response, to his credit, was measured. Asked directly about the criticism, he said he couldn't control other people's opinions, only his own effort. It was a mature answer. It just didn't change what kept happening on the injury report. Here's what makes this story different from a simple pile-on. Zion did make real changes, multiple times. Before the 2024-25 season, he showed up noticeably leaner, and even Stephen A. gave him credit for it on air, calling him a different animal when healthy, and predicting that a fully available Zion would knock out any team in the West. For a stretch, it looked like the redemption arc was writing itself. Zion strung together a hot run in early 2025, triple-doubles, career highs in assists per 36-minute numbers that put him in the conversation with the best forwards alive. Then, on March 2025, a lower back contusion ended his season, 30 games played. Again, that's the moment Stephen A. drew the line that mattered most, not another weight joke, a redefinition of the entire debate. You are not a superstar because you are almost never available. It reframed everything. This was never really about a number on a scale. It was about whether talent that shows up for a third of the season can be called stardom at all. Then 2025-26 arrived, and the pattern didn't just continue, it accelerated. Zion opened the season hurt, a foot issue in the home opener, then a hamstring strain that cost him 8 straight games while the Pelicans sat winless. An ankle sprain in March ended a 35-game run that had briefly looked like the healthiest stretch of his career. By the time the season mercifully ended, New Orleans had collapsed to 26 wins and 56 losses, finishing near the bottom of the Western Conference, and Zion was watching the final games from the bench on a team that had already been eliminated from any kind of contention. 7 years in, multiple body transformations, a contract with a fitness clause built into it, and the record still reads the same way it always has. A superstar-level talent who has missed more than half of the games his own franchise has played since the day he was drafted. Go back to that clip from March 2025. You are not a superstar because you are almost never available. At the time, it read like Stephen A. being Stephen A. Provocative, a little cruel, built for engagement. But strip away the delivery and look at what he was actually saying. Not that Zion lacked talent. Nobody has ever argued that. The talent was never the debate. The debate was whether talent that disappears for 2 out of every 3 games can build anything. A winning team, a legacy, a case for greatness that outlives the highlight reels. 7 years later, the Pelicans have exactly 0 playoff series wins with Zion on the roster. 0. A franchise that had a generational talent handed to it in 2019 is picking in the lottery again, trying to figure out how to build around a player who has never once made it through a full 82-game season. That's not a media narrative. That's the box score. Here's what this story is really about, and it's bigger than one player or one loud analyst. The NBA has always undervalued the skill of simply being on the floor. We build highlight packages around explosiveness and scoring bursts, and we treat health like background noise instead of the foundation everything else is built on. Stephen A. Smith's criticism of Zion was crude at times. The food addict comments, the chef jokes, the stuff that drew real pushback from players like Gilbert Arenas, who called the framing out directly. That part of the story deserves honesty, not a hero's edit. Some of it crossed a line from analysis into mockery, but underneath the noise was a genuinely uncomfortable truth that turned out to be accurate. A body that can't stay on the court is a talent the league never actually gets to see. Not every warning has to be delivered kindly to be correct, and not every critic has to be liked to be right. Zion Williamson is still only 25 years old. The talent that made him the #1 pick in 2019 hasn't gone anywhere. When he's out there, he still looks like one of the most physically dominant forwards on the planet. The story isn't over, but 7 years and 30-game seasons later, the hardest part of Zion's story was never the jump shot or the post moves. It was showing up. Stephen A. Smith said it before anyone wanted to hear it. Nobody listened. And the Pelicans are still waiting to find out what happens if somebody finally does.